We didn't know. She thought we had.
Why are we
left.
going live?
We stream all our meetings.
Huh.
So you're live.
Did we scream
We're
live?
on, okay, we're on.
No, I did not because I did not have everything set up correctly, so.
I was like, we gotta
Just
do
one
it.
Looks
more
right, doesn't
moment. I think we are good to. There's the meeting back. Here we are, got it.
Okay.
That is, you're good to go.
Like to call to order the meeting of the Bartonville Community Development Corporation meeting. Today's date is the 13th of July, 2022. So like to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and skip down to item B on our agenda, which is citizen participation. We actually have our esteemed mayor, Jacqueline Carrington, which would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you.
This is going to be a long speech, so everyone get prepared.
Excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom.
That's right. Take a break. Yeah. I just wanted to thank everybody for serving on the BCDC. The council and I appreciate everything you do for the town. I feel like our boards and committees they're all important. They're all equally important. So I just wanted to tell you again, thank you. And if there's anything I can do to help, please contact me. So again, thank you for your service.
Outstanding, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, any other citizen participation? Not at this time.
May I request that we do closed session at the end of the
Okay.
meeting?
All right. We can do that. So we're going to go ahead and move to item C. No, we're going to go ahead and move to E, items, consider approval of June 8th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? All right, item number 2 is review, discuss, and provide necessary inputs regarding FY 2022-2023 annual BCDC budget, projects, goals, and objectives.
All right, in front of you, you have a copy of a draft proposed budget. But I want to start out with a couple of items. One of the things due to the town's commercial areas being almost completely, there's no vacant lots of land left for commercial development, with the exception of where Cloud 9's going in. That's already dedicated behind 7-Eleven, where Marty V's is trying to do an event center. He'll do something with that property. And then New Quest. There's no other commercial property available in the town. The corner, kitty corner from the Bartonville store, the property owners at 327 McMakin have purchased that property, and they've indicated that they don't want any development on that whatsoever, and may initiate a land use change back to RE2, but they don't even want to develop it to neighborhood. They just want nothing there.
You're talking about just that corner lot.
That whole corner lot, yes.
Yeah.
So there's really no more commercial development. So the boards, with the funding of the council's goals and the community's goals, streets are always on the top priority. They are going to discuss having a sales tax reallocation. So we did that before, where the board was at 0.5 cent and the streets were at 1/4 cent. There was a sales tax election that switched that to do another, because the state allows the sales tax to be in increments of 1/8. So if the council does that and they call an election and that passes, it would reduce the Community Development Corporation's sales tax again from 1/4 to 1/8, and then increase the streets to 5/8. The impact that would have on the board, if on the funding for the annual, if the election happens and they have it in November, it will not go into effect until April 1st, but we won't start allocating the money until June 1st, because sales tax is collected 2 months behind. So the impact of next year's budget would be, instead of the proposed budget of revenue of 197,950, it it would be approximately 165. So it's still bringing in substantial amount for
It's
next
the-
year.
It's the year after that would take the big. hit.
Yeah, but, and it would just flip there. There's still, right now in the fund balance is 600 and, where did my note go? Sorry, the fund balance, did I do that? No, is over $600,000 in the board's fund that's been building every year. So with that in mind, I just wanted to preface with that, that's probably what, that's coming forward. So that would impact but if they have the election and it passes, then we would do a budget amendment to reduce the sales tax revenue from 197 to 165. The proposed 197, the projected ending this year and the budget this year is 185. We budgeted, we're estimating 7%, which is conservative, but again, we're not sure if a recession is going to happen. We're not sure what's going to come up. But with that, we have new businesses that we're not seeing sales tax yet that we'll see next fiscal year, which include Breaks Plus, Dutch Brothers, Marty B's Coffee, Marty B's To Go, and The Barrel. So that's still substantial additional sales tax revenue that's coming in. So, and we'll watch those numbers after the budget's approved and see where that goes. Again, not knowing what's going to happen. We're just trying to budget conservatively for those revenues.
Those businesses don't provide any projections, do they? Or do
No, they don't. Their sales tax effect, the new quest went round and round with Dutch Brothers to release their sales tax ID to us so we could do the appropriate tax grants. Because of course, New Quest wants their money. So they haven't released it yet. So I don't know what's going to happen. Other than that, the only other revenue, the revenue that comes in, it'd be a transfer in from the fund balance at $37,000. Again, this is just a rough estimate of what we're presenting to you today, including a lot of the projects and ideas that you've brought forward that the board would like to consider or that you've mentioned in the past. So with that, we've increased, if you look under other line 810 5280 grant expenses, we're really going to change that name, grant expenses and projects. We've increased that to $100,000, depending on the list of projects that we'll go over with you. I'll just do it now since we're on an item. The community guide, now that we have the new council, the new administrator, we're getting new photographs. We're getting some new photographs of the community and we'll be updating that. I'm not sure if it'll be done this fiscal year or at the beginning of next fiscal year. We're budgeting as if we're still going to have that expense this year. And if we start it, we may be able to do that. The other projects that you've talked about or suggested, there's one item that we're going to talk about, real property in closed session, that we'll talk about later. Flagpoles at the Old Town, cell phone analysis that you still want to do, partner with Bartonville Town Center for a holiday event. I'm still waiting to hear back from them on that. We're going to look into applying and seeing what kind of type of green ribbon grants. There is a green ribbon grant that we could get to help fund the median project on FM 407. Just as it was, we've talked about doing that. Community guy, another something that we wanted to show you. Uh-oh. There I am. Come on. Don't give me no signal. Again. Don't do this to me. In the town's general fund budget, we are budgeting updated video audio equipment, so we don't have to go through any of this anymore.
Oh, great.
I mean, I could break it into an interpretive dances if you'd like.
No. Oh, wait, that's TV. Source, PC. Oh, it would help if it was plugged in.
Sometimes.
Oh,
It does, it is. This isn't one of those situations where we have something on that other TV, is it?
no, it's the same. Oh.
curious because that's a community development. Okay,
This was the only thing I did not test today,
and I
was certain.
I assume it's already been budgeted somehow, some way, there's- of course. It just seemed like it would be something that we should be doing.
No, let's plug it in directly.
We can do hand puppets.
Just don't let me trip over it.
Looks like. Flashcards. And I'm good with that. I mean, we've done it before.
All right, again, don't trip over the cord.
Oh, look, I lost the game again.
Yeah, well.
Well. What's going on?
One that Corey showed me where you can keep sliding and it'll come in, hopefully, no. She did that last time, it slid in because it was showing on the other one,
Okay.
but it's not doing it this
I'm
time.
seeing your mouse now.
All right.
Can you see this? Oh, so you can see it. So somehow we've got to,
Oh, you know what we'll do? Let me try one more thing. I'm so sorry.
mouse is showing up on the screen. It's so it's somehow
It's on the other
split.
one.
It's almost like a split screen.
We'll do it to mirror. We don't want show only one.
Wait.
You see that?
It's doing something to the TV. It's
Thinking.
It's Netflix.
That's how I feel.
right.
Spinning.
Oh, and that was
Well, darn it, come on. This is just not fair. Mirror. You're not seeing it.
See chessboard.
I'm gonna play chess. Identify.
That's screen 2, it says.
Okay. Screen 2. All right, where's the mirror? I'll just take it off that and I'll mirror my display. I don't want multiple displays. Show only on one.
We'll make it up somewhere.
Now we're
Yeah.
seeing your desktop.
you can see your desktop.
All right.
So what can we spend on?
Which one should you do, the Metroport or the Argyle one?
Seemed like-
The Argyle one? The Argyle one?
I would show her.
Okay. All right, so one of the things we were looking at is Argyle has this really cool promotional video on Argyle. And we'll just make
No sound.
full screen. And of course, there's no sound.
Why is it not doing
It's
sound?
okay, Randy can sing.
Randy can sing.
I probably, yeah. You guys will probably all leave immediately. And that's
Oh, there we
okay.
go. Is it? I wonder if we. We could see how pretty it is.
So,
Something.
who are they? I've seen versions of this. Who do you suppose they're presenting this to? Is it for their website? Is it, what do they do? Little of both. They'll do it for their website.
Site that can, multiple things. It can help your existing businesses. They'll sometimes send these things out to, customers, or they'll post it to their website, showing the community. It also is kind of a community support thing. You'll find your residents, send it to the people they know.
Okay.
Depending on the market, I mean, I've used these before because we've taken them to trade shows.
Okay.
We're not really in that boat in Bartonville, but so it can have that effect as well. If you're really trying to bring in developers and those people, you can see the densities. You'd fly over Lantana and show that. That's really not what I'd recommend for this one.
Okay.
But again, people,
Maybe just a tour of the town.
it is
something
really,
like that.
this one is a lot of a marketing piece. There's a tour of the town, kind of an image piece. So again, Bartonville has a certain image, but it's only here.
Yeah.
So, I grew up in Dallas and I did not know where Bartonville was
I
until I
grew
came
up-
over
I lived
here.
In Carrollton, didn't know where Bartonville was, so.
And it's
This-
an absolutely beautiful community.
Yeah, I agree with that statement that the concern I have is, I don't know, the statement that was made about not showing Lantana. Lantana shows high density housing, which is not really what we're all about. But if you're a business, you want to make sure you're building where you have a customer base, and that does provide a customer base. So I don't know, what are y'all's thoughts about that?
Likes to build businesses right now, so I don't know what the market is for.
That was kind of my thought process, but typically, if you decide you want to go down this path, there would be a focus session. We would talk about these issues specific to Bartonville and the purpose, and they can shoot it in such a way that you've got those pieces. And if you decide, yes, that's what we want to do, you can include them because there'll be various aerial shots. You'll pick 5, 6, 7 locations. They bring the drones out and then they fly.
What does something like this cost? Just curious.
Probably around $8,000, depends on, who you get narrating, and the finish work. The finish work is where you get the real product.
And this could go on the website, is that? what-
Yes.
So y'all are telling us because this is a potential new project that y'all would ask the BCDC to contribute.
Yeah, if
to?
that's something you were interested in doing, because in the way we're just thinking of different ideas of promoting businesses and promoting the town. Again, and even though there's no place for new businesses, you want to help retain the businesses that are here or those that if they move out and new ones come in.
Vacant Spaces, yes.
Grapes Till Wine left, and now we have the Barrel. So it's same thing. 7-Eleven moved out. They built their standalone location, Marty B's, to go moved into that location. So again, there's not, because there's no more commercial land available, there still is commercial activity going again in retention and recruiting if and when a business moves out.
Right.
So
I would feel like it would be a good recruiting, for the people who are equestrian people.
Mhm.
If you gear towards that, you can get more horse people out here. Absolutely.
but again, it's just an idea. It's not something to say, oh yeah, this needs to be done next year. Just different ideas for you to think about. We can include it in or not include it in. We've got $100,000 in there, not knowing if anybody's going to come. We had the Bartonville vet submitted a grant request, but then they changed their mind and they withdrew it. But there could be other businesses that may need some assistance. So no. And what I tried to express to existing businesses that if they're going to venture into something, that they need to ask for funding on a project before it's done, before it's, oh, I'm doing this project. Hey, will you help me? Because that's not what the economic development's for. It said, okay, there's a business, you're going to buy it and you're going to expand it. Are you thinking about it? Then that's the time that you need to come and talk to this board and request funding, not, oh, I've bought it, I've done this. Can you help me pay for part of it? It's not an after the tech, it's
Technically, that violates state statute.
yeah. So
It's a matter of, it's an enhancement of a project. It is, you help close a gap in funding because of what they want to do and what you'd like to see.
but if there's they need to improve their existing business and there's different categories and aspects on how to do it. So, and trying to get that information out to the businesses about that.
Well, that's one thing that I guess I have a question. I don't know about anybody else, but we're
Can you
running
move
out
your
of
microphone?
businesses- We're running out of businesses to
There you go.
support as far as bringing new business in. But what can we do for existing businesses? I know there's ribbon cuttings. I know there's all those types of items. But what can we reach out to? Is there anything we're going to have? If we get 165,000 a year and we don't have anybody that's moving in or making improvements, what is it we can do on a, I don't want to say a regular basis, but a basis that would allow us to help the businesses that are currently here?
Tammy, you've done the community guide. Again, you can increase the volume of community guides, send them to Lantana. And you can do those types of things where you're promoting your businesses beyond the borders. Again, pushing those things out so everybody knows. You got a little map or something that talks about Martinville Town Center, again, the Lantana area, and just continue to make sure that everybody knows that those businesses are there Sometimes they don't pay attention to who's in that center and they're like, oh, we've got a, nail place in there, or I've got a dry cleaner or a dentist, because they kind of get lost in there. So there are some things you can do. Ribbon cuttings, without a big mailing list, typically when we've done those in the past, it was a chamber function. And it was really a membership to membership type of an event. It didn't directly help the business except making those connections. So we would need a mailing list or something that to really make an impact there.
Gotcha.
I'm
Same
not
thing
saying
with the grand opening.
Same type of thing. Again, it's not that they're bad at all. It's just the scope is very limited without a membership, or a big mailing list.
Okay.
Where we send it out and try and get everybody in there.
Not have a mailing list or potential mailing list opportunities available to us that could broadcast to the area.
You could purchase.
That we are
Yeah, you
having
could
a
purchase a
grand
mailing
opening
list,
at-
like through Murray Media, the people who do our community
Mhm.
guide, that they have different kind of mailings that they can reach out to different areas.
Because just because we don't have a chamber in Bartonville, I don't necessarily see that as precluding us from having
Right.
such an event or supporting a business that's new to the town, or even it's an existing business that's having some sort of a grand opening after a refresh or something. What could we do to support them? I understand we've got, who is it? Argot? No, it's Denton County's doing the ribbon cutting for, I saw that for the Bartonville store.
Tim joined
I
that
noticed
chamber,
that.
and I looked at other chambers like the Flower Mound Chamber. There we have like 6 businesses in Bartonville that belong to the Flower Mound Chamber. And then there's also the Metroport Chamber, which supports Argyle, North Lake,
Justin.
Haslett, Justin, Roanoke,
There were 7, and I don't remember.
7 cities that do that.
I'm still struggling with why we don't want more commercial business on 407.
That's
So
not
we
a
can-
discussion for this board,
Well, why not? I mean, why wouldn't we want to push that?
because
what-
it's not what the scope of what your council wants. So it's not something, a directive that's going to come, and this is not the place to debate that. That's a place for you to take that to the city council for their discussion. It's not a discussion of this board, because the council's pretty much given their directive that there will be no more commercial. They won't consider. In addition, the town has not received any applications, not one, since the time I've been here, as zoning requests to change anything along 407 to commercial, with the exception of Tractor Supply, which was already zoned rural business. And so we changed that to fit a scope so Tractor Supply could be there. But there hasn't been one application since I've been here in 11 years, anybody asking to rezone any of their property commercial. Just because it's that way, there's nothing to prevent anybody to request it. So if somebody that's selling property, but there's only one property, 2 pieces of property that's available on 407 if that were to ever come. So there's not a whole bunch of land, because you have Saddlebrook, you have the Village Center, you have EJ's or CJ's Legacy Ranch. So there's just one parcel.
And speaking to that, the city, it is the year we will be updating the land use plan. As part of that, a survey will go out to the community. So again, that's your opportunity to provide input as well, as a community. So, looking at the past surveys, they've been
No additional.
adamant about keeping the future land use plan as it is, without creating a lot of additional commercial uses, retail commercial uses. My experience will tell me it'll be a little bit difficult. Marty's is a somewhat of an anomaly because it's not at a cross street. You will probably, if they were to consider other uses, and again, there's no sewer there, which creates an issue for new businesses, that it likely end up being office or professional, because without the cross streets, they typically will not go mid-block. Marty's is quite different because it's a destination, and 7-Eleven locating there next to Marty's makes sense. But again, that is, through the interview process, through the first meetings we've discussed, the future land use plan is going to be the driving force to continue to go forward. So again, if y'all feel the desire to talk to council, come in as residents or otherwise and say, hey, we'd like to see something different, that is your chance to do so. And again, we're working on the language for the survey right now.
So as a sidebar, and I may be way off base here, we've had this discussion before, and Tammy, I think you kind of shut it down, but it wouldn't be our committee then that could go to the council and say, if this, then that for rezoning, let's say the Rockwall property along there. Is the council aware that, I guess I'm just not sure what they're aware of.
Well, what
And
is
how
the
would we-
concern? Because
Well, no, it's not a
there's-
concern. It's an educational. Can we, as an economic development committee, say, hey, to provide additional income for our town, if we were to take X amount of property on 407 and rezone it to commercial, is that something that our committee would do, or is that something as a citizen we would do, or?
Well, the first step is when the survey comes, because they're reviewing that comp plan. So
Right.
that survey will go out and it's for the residents to participate. That survey, it'll pretty much have the same basic questions as it has in the past.
Right.
And based on that, the council drives how those changes will be on the land use plan, the future land use plan. So also additionally, and we've talked about this in the past, funding. So once things get settled and we get the budget in and we get moving along, Dad's been here. We're pretty financially set right now, but part of his job as the administrator is to do forecasting and looking at where we are with the sales tax, with the property tax. If we come in and have somebody help us do an analysis, they can do a property, they can look at your property, what it's zoned, what could happen. We're gonna have a real test here with Deer Hollow, because Deer Hollow is our first 5-acre lot subdivision with 14 lots. The council approved the preliminary and, or planning and zoning approved the preliminary and final plat for that development. So I've heard since I've been here, no, there's no way you could ever do a 5-acre subdivision. Well, somebody's here doing it. So if he builds that and he's successful, you know what the property values are going to be on those 14 lots is going to add revenue to the town. So again, part of his job in getting settled in the next couple of years is forecasting and doing those types of analysis to let them know, this is what you want to spend on your streets. Here's our projected revenue from property taxes. Here's our projected revenue from sales tax.
And again, one more thing, and I'll shut up, but it feels like we're getting painted into a bit of a corner because we're gonna run out of things to spend our money on, bottom line, right? And so we've got $600,000 in the account now, and we're looking at, you know, if revenues stay as they are, we'll get 100, and they do reduce our percentage to 8%, we get 165,000. Now, I don't know how much average we have spent per year, but the account's going to continue to build if we aren't spending the money. So what happens in that case?
That's why we came to you with some ideas, and we're, as staff members, trying to find projects that this board can fund that's in compliance with the law.
I have
To
not seen
assist
the ballot
businesses.
language yet for what was used to pass this sales tax. So again, there's ballot language and there's the EDC law. So I've been here 1 month today. So,
Yeah.
and one of
Happy
the things,
anniversary.
and the one things that, the item that Tammy had mentioned, it's basically called the fiscal impact analysis, and it looks at your land use and says, if it builds like this, plus your infrastructure costs, this is your end result. You're sustainable, you're not sustainable, those types of things. So it can, again, those things can look at with this commercial, and the rest of it being residential, and all of the miles of streets that you're okay or you're not
That's
okay.
exactly what I was looking for.
And this board can fund that type of analysis.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was looking for. What is it that our businesses are doing for us that a residential community is not from a revenue perspective?
From a revenue perspective.
Yeah, so we know
Well-
some of these homes, these 5-acre homes are going to be really expensive, obviously, with the cost of land. So, you know, like to know what that number looks like compared to a business on an equally sized property.
The point that I've always made is our sales tax is basically free. It's paid by everybody but the people of Bartonville. So basically all that extra money allows us to do all these things basically for free. Why would you not want to take free money? It's illogical, totally.
Well, and the primary source of that revenue comes into the coffers. It's paying for the streets and all the other public
Yeah.
services.
But it depends on the scope of the community and the majority of the people that speak and fill out those surveys and air those issues with
I don't
the
think
governing body.
I don't think that the Keep Bartonville Country has ever told them that sales tax is free. that everybody pays it. And what that allows them to do is do streets, do all the rest of these things, and other people are paying it. I don't think that's ever been mentioned by any of the key Bartonville country people.
And that's where I'm kind of going to the educational part of it. What could we do as a committee to educate that versus commercial, residential, and what, is anybody, you see what I'm saying?
Well,
analysis
there's one
and-
person in particular that doesn't care. Maybe they all don't care.
Again,
That,
you're
yeah, I
talking
would say
about
that.
political issues in the community, and that's not the basis of the conversation. It's not on the agenda. It's not an issue for this board to evaluate those political issues. You can voice your concerns with your council when they have their budget hearings, when they have that. When we do a fiscal analysis, that's the time to look at the big picture and go, all right, this is what's happening. And with the council's priorities, when you budget every year and we're doing the budget correctly this year, it's like, what are all of our needs? And then how much money do we need to meet those needs? And so before, it was always a cookie cutter. Let's copy the budget from the previous year. That's not how you budget for municipalities. What are the needs? What are the wants? How much is this going to cost us? All right, where are we going to get that revenue? Here's our sales tax. Here's our ad valorem. Here's our franchise fees. That's where we're getting those revenues to figure out a balanced budget.
So you're saying, let's
So-
look at a budget for a physical impact analysis. What's that going to cost us, or who does it?
And we've done that and we've gotten some numbers. And again, that's something that's not going to happen today or in the next 6 months after that's been here for a while and dealing with a number of other projects and priorities that we've got to
Sure.
do, but it's on there. The council's talked about it. The council members have asked for those kind of projections. So it's not something that they're not thinking about. Josh Phillips, in fact, at the last council meeting said, can you give us some projections, those types of things. So those are things that they, as staff, will keep council informed on and bring that kind of project forward.
Absolutely. And again, the key there is, the management of the consultant. Tammy's already got, I think, several bids
Yeah.
for that process. My entire thesis was on, poor management of consultants, because garbage in, garbage out, that still applies.
Yeah. sure
And
does.
I've seen communities devastated by bad numbers, meaning somebody gave them something to plug into their data set, and it was wrong from the beginning, and they started down a path that they were never going to reach the end goal. So that's kind of where one of my stronger areas is knowing when somebody's heading down the wrong path. So again, I feel confident that when we get to that point, it will be a good study. It'll be an accurate study for the community. And then, council can take that and decide what they want to do from there.
Yep.
And we can kind of go back to that, what our driving document was behind this group, which included the community development piece of it. It's not just about economic, it's about community and what can we do for our community. I think we probably ought to go back and review what the law states that we are to do as a group, and look through those and determine, are there any areas that we could tackle or put together possibly some options to consider.
That
So-
would be a future agenda item though,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
The other thing that was coming to mind too is the fact that we are surrounded by ETJ land that could potentially have commercial, positive commercial impact to us as a town if we were to bring those into Bartonville, such as, the
Valero Station.
yeah, Valero, the feed store.
The
behind
Valero
there.
already is in the town of Bartonville. So the liquor store and the Valero are in our city limits. And it's just bonded, and the businesses out to the west are not in our ETJ. That used to be years ago, the Argyle and Bartonville did ETJ swaps years ago. So there's only just that portion that where bonded is. I don't see them ever requesting to come into Bartonville after because they owned that corner tract and asked for rural business in that area and it was turned down. I don't know. We can't just annex property. And then the other ETJ is the neighborhood. It's the 1 acre subdivision. And then we have the property off of Gibbons, and then the Jack First property.
But then again, those are all future agenda items.
Yeah,
We're getting
But,
way
and
off.
that's if you're talking about revenue generating from that. But that's,
Yeah, and with the state law change about annexation, it's extremely rare to get somebody to annex in because they don't see the benefit. They are already receiving benefit from the community, if you will, by shoppers or whatever. They just don't want to.
Does anybody know what Jack is really doing now? I have been out of.
No, and that's, I talked to you after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So again, with the funding and looking at the types of ideas and different things, our focus is how can we help you help the existing businesses? So we're not fully staffed right now, so we are still managing a lot of different things. And that's going to bring in, it'll be another agenda, well, when we get to the last agenda item, but we're looking at different ways of the types of projects that you can fund and how you can, again, do those projects. And so the list that we talked about earlier and the continued maintenance of the old town area where the horses are and doing some improvements to that.
When you had mentioned, depending on the way the referendum was done, when you talk about
Yeah.
ribbon cuttings or existing businesses, you can do special events, Christmas, partnerships or those types of things that continue to bring more people into those businesses. You can sponsor those types of events depending on how that referendum is written. So I'll have to look at.
So
to make
for
sure.
a future agenda item, if you don't
We-
mind, if we skip down to that. A future agenda item would be to review the existing referendum that outlines the responsibilities of this board.
That's not part of the election. It's not a referendum. So.
I'm
what
talking about
this
the
board-
original referendum.
So, for the election of this board, and we
For
have the
the-
bylaws, yes.
Yes.
So,
Bylaws,
yes.
that's a better word.
So, but it'd be reviewing the bylaws.
Yeah, so I think we have, on this item too, we definitely have a few things we can talk about it. at a
And that-
later-
That discussion's gonna not happen for a while.
Okay,
Again, due to limited staffing right now and the number of projects we have, we don't, the research and the time.
I did learn how to enter a speeding ticket though.
Yes, you did. Oh, did you?
Did you get one or-
No. It's okay. Other duties is assigned. We're just getting it done. Thank God I have Tammy.
excellent. Okay, so our next, we're ready for our next item.
So, well, again, on the budget, we have to bring back a budget for you to approve at your next meeting.
Okay,
So again, the rest of the sales, the marketing, or right now, the grant expenses, we budgeted 80,000. We've expended $9,900. We have not reimbursed the $9,900 for the electric grant yet, and the $50,000 for the Hilltop turn lane, but we're projecting that will be done, and the year end will end out with about 69,800 in expenses. But we increase that budget line next year to $100,000, depending on if we add these types of projects. And just because we add them in there doesn't mean it has to be done. But we can put them in there and then we can rank them. We'll get them in a better format for you at a meeting and get better prices on those things and move forward that way. The the fees you'll see under the traffic study, that's red. That's because we were over budget. The cost of that increased. So we budgeted that same percentage for an increase of that study for next year. And that traffic study again goes to, it does a study, it includes all of the commercial businesses and other areas in town. So we see where the traffic is coming in and out and how that impacts us. And we do
Cell
share
phone
that.
study?
No, that's the
Like traffic
traffic
counts?
study. The cell phone analysis is included in the consulting fees that we had Aaron with Retail Coach do. And that's still on the list. I haven't heard back from him yet. And I do have that on the list of projects. And again, I'm waiting to hear back from Bartonville Town Center if they're doing a holiday event this year. We do have in the budget to include the decorating of the corner again for the holidays. Thad and I, we talked earlier how Bartonville Town Center decorates, but New Quest, Lantana Town Center really isn't decorated for the holidays. You can reach out to their property management, but I can't see where any approval of funding to help decorate that when that developer gets money back every year from the town based on the grants. So helping the business is one thing, but decorating I don't know how, if decorating that center, if we could help promote or do an activity in that center would be different for us to fund, to bring something in there. We did just receive the surveillance video camera, which we got a grant from the Denton County Development District number 7, and it was $47,000. It's in the back by the shed if you want to take a look at it, but it was funded by them. It's to be used at the Lantana Town Center, and it's got the surveillance. We just got the SIM card for it today. But having that, having events or something there too might be helpful.
The cameras for that are actually sitting right back in the back of the room for the surveillance trailer.
I guess I gotta go over there, right?
So that's it on the budget. So if you have any changes or recommendations or anything.
I think we need to wait till you come back to us with a cleaner list, like you were saying, you were gonna tighten things up.
I won't have final numbers on any of these items. We can put them in as projects, but before any of them are done, or you can redo them. So the budget can be, if we don't have enough, I think we have more than enough budgeted because we're not gonna be able to do all of these in 1 year.
Right.
But keep those as a list. And if there's anything that on this list that you see, we can talk about at the next meeting, but we'll need to do approval then.
In other words, it's including a group of projects and you can decide as we go through the budget. Again, you are approving your budget with this list. We would get pricing as you went along and said, yes, we do want to do this and only spend what is necessary out
So
of
the
that budget.
budget
But
is-
instead of having to go through every time and approve every single project, it gives a little more streamlined process. And I'll tell you, this is Tammy's board, but I've always told the EDCs I've worked for, I'll only spend your money if I need to.
But I think the list that you rattled off, that includes everything that we've been talking about.
So I went back to the notes.
Yeah.
I was like, they're gonna go, well, what about this? We talked about this. And I know there were some things, I know that that's a lot of work. So it's probably, if we look at it a couple of years to do those, it'd be impossible to do them all in 1 year. Again, when we're fully staffed and we are able to catch our breath again, we can focus more on some of these, looking at different ways for different projects, but we're never not thinking about it. We're constantly, like we call it going squirrel in the office, because we'll be talking about something and then something comes up and it's, oh, what about this? Hey, that's something we think this board can fund and that would be helpful and that'd be great for the businesses. And so we're constantly, just because it may not be on here or certain things aren't happening, we're constantly working on that.
You give me a couple of months and I get my feet under me, it'll be even better. But
Yep.
yes, it's challenging. It's fun. But it is challenging being down to and going through budget. And I mentioned the land use plan. We're also updating our sewer plan as well. So, there's a lot going on, but we're going to continue to look for you.
You can just stop that one right now.
Actually,
Did you say that word?
It's in two specific
You
places.
just said that
It's in
word.
two
I
specific
told
places,
you when
so
you were
we're
hired,
updating.
never say that word.
No, it is in 2 spots and it will remain in 2 spots.
We're not, that word is not on the agenda.
We're just looking at the budget. We're not looking to approve this.
No,
No,
it's just
ideas,
discussion only.
Discussions.
So yeah, we had like projects, goals, objectives, so those kind of things. All wrapped in one, but that was a lot of information to share with you.
Good. This looks consistent with what we've talked about.
Okay.
So I see no issue
We'll
with it.
plow
Anybody else have
forward
anything to
then.
add there? All right, number 3, let's discuss the Old Town Monument signage.
I sent you an email,
Okay.
but that's okay. I was like, oh, the meeting's tomorrow night. I sent it yesterday and I didn't text you. So I've reached out to several people for powder coating.
Mhm.
Been getting responses. I did reach out to Sigma Signs. They've done a lot of our signs for us. They did our things. So they came back with a quote. And then I reached out to another place that does powder coating in Louisville. And he's like, well, seems to how Sigma reached out to me and I gave them a quote for your signs. I don't think I can quote on that.
So
I'm
is that
like-
what I'm going to be doing in retirement? Is
So
gonna be
I'm
doing
like,
powder
wow.
coating? 'Cause-
Well, and then, so I called Sigma and I mean, included in their quote is that they will come and take all of the signs down. Because if you look at it, the original signs still look great. It's the
Yep.
new ones that we had made that
Yeah,
look
yeah.
bad.
Exactly.
So they recommend removing them all so they can all so they all look the same. So they'll come out, they'll take them all down. The total price is it's about $3,500. 3518 is what they quoted. They'll come down, they'll take all of them down, they'll get them powder coated, they'll come back, they'll get them all installed. We don't have to do anything.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That
So
actually
then they'll
sounds-
all match. It'll be everything except for the top that says Old Town Bartonville.
And I have
that doesn't-
approved all the businesses. Are they all still relevant on the sign or is there anything?
I'll double
missing?
check that one before we do it. And I noticed that there were, I think, a new business over here. So I'll check with them and ask them if they have any tenants that we need to add to that sign. And I will ask that company that's doing the powder coating if they, since they're a metal shop, if they can duplicate.
Oh, the sign's been up 5 years.
Well, the original one, since before I started,
That was-
and it was on the other side, it was
Yeah,
on
they
the
moved
Kroger
it
side,
over
and it
there.
was a bigger monument rock, and there were signs on both sides.
Okay.
Right.
Had now,
I don't remember when they moved it, did they refinish them?
no, but when
They
they
just
moved
moved
it,
them.
the monument broke. And so the rock,
They
so
had
they
to
had to buy a
rebuild it.
new, and when they installed it, we only put the signs on one side.
That's right.
That's right. So they've held up really well.
Yes, so our
Considering
original
they're
ones
in
are
the
still
sun.
look amazing,
Yeah.
but the
Supposed
new
to
ones
rain
are the
and
ones
sun.
that are flaky and don't look good, so
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and move forward. I mean, it's in our budget
That
to
sounds
do it
like a
under
great idea.
maintenance.
Do you need any?
Nope,
Okay.
just wanted to share that with you, make sure you're okay with it, so.
Perfect.
As
As long as everyone's on there.
Yes,
Every
sir.
business we want on there.
Yep. If we don't want them, we'll keep them off, no. I didn't say that, I'm just kidding. For all our businesses.
All right. So anything else to discuss there? Everything else is good. Lighting's good. There's not any other changes or any repairs.
I've
that
not
need to
been
be made?
notified of anything else.
I haven't looked at it at night. I'm just curious if it's got any kind of,
No.
any visibility issues. Update on development activity, new businesses, prospective businesses, or expansion of businesses. I think we kind of talked about that a little bit in
Yeah, we
item
kind of-
2, didn't we?
Talked about that. What I can tell you is Marty B's Coffee has done their soft opening. They have their CO and they're in business. Dutch Brothers is open now as well. I've been through there a couple of times. Their customer service, those kids are something else. Trios has been issued their CO, but they have not opened yet. Marty B's To Go, they're still renovating. The Barrel has opened. And the Whataburger has reached out to us and we're in the process of exchanging correspondence on what their requirements are for their site plan and CUP approval process.
And would that be right there at Blanco or?
From the last plans that I looked at on their website was Blanco, but it was on this side of Blanco on the corner,
Okay.
I
not
think
on,
that's correct.
on this side of Blanco, not on the other side. And under construction is Breaks Plus and the Shell Building.
So
For
we
new
still
class-
do have one parcel available then.
They have several, the way if you
Oh,
look
that's
at their
right.
site plan, they change it. So they don't share with us. We can just go on their website and look how they project it. I know that there was a rumor that Chick-fil-A was coming. They've told their current business owners, because somebody reached out to me and said, well, they're bringing Chick-fil-A in and Whataburger. I'm like, well, those applications have not come to the town, so I didn't see Chick-fil-A on their site plan, but who knows, that
They
could be coming
frequently-
forward.
They will frequently co-locate.
Yeah.
But the parcel on the other side of Blanco, just to be clear, is still available then.
As far as we know,
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a parcel available
so,
there. and
but
we
it's
also-
not, that's,
It's not,
New
it's
Quest.
not,
That's
it's
New
new, it's a
I
new
mean, it's
quest.
in, it,
We
but
get,
they-
we get more tax revenue off, but it's still a new quest.
yes, and they
it's-
never ask for any support or
right.
help or let's bring somebody in. It's,
And the point is still available, right, on 407 and Jeter,
Jeter.
where you go in front of the church. And that one time there was a talk about bank going.
oh, yes, there's a pad
Mm-hmm.
site on that side available too. I think that's marked for a restaurant.
Okay.
Hey, Tammy, I'm sorry, did you say Tim had joined which chamber? of
He
commerce?
joined the Denton Chamber,
Denton Chamber.
yes.
Wow.
I saw that announcement about that ribbon cut. I was, what?
Well, and he sent me an
A
email
very own
like
business.
2 nights before it happened to share with everybody and it was too soon of information to share, so it didn't get sent out.
That's
But-
kind of unusual, isn't it?
But I didn't see any of the other Bartonville businesses on Denton, but then when I looked at Chambers, I think again, there were 6 of them that were on Flower Mound's Chamber.
Interesting.
I saw it on either Instagram or Facebook. When I saw it, I was surprised because obviously we don't have a chamber, but we can obviously support those types of initiatives. Want to do some ribbon cuttings or whatever, we definitely can drive those. Okay. Discussion of marketing, promotional items and advertising of local businesses.
We kind of talked about that in the budget, so.
We
I don't know if
did.
I don't know if
We
we need
did.
to.
So discussion on BCDC meeting dates.
Okay, I added this on here for the fact, we'll need to meet again next month for the budget. And the bylaws require like an annual meeting with the council. We didn't do one last year. I think I was still from COVID and all the changes that we've been going through. But I'd like to propose, once to get this list of things going, maybe start maybe meeting every other month and see how that goes. And then if it changes where it might even just be quarterly. So if we get the list of projects approved, or if there's something, if we need to have a meeting, or if a grant request comes in, by all means, then we would schedule that for a meeting. We can keep it on the same date, or everybody's availability. But if we have our list of projects and we're like working on one and it's happening and we don't have really anything to present to, again, if you're okay with starting every other month, and then,
I'm good with that. I thought it was a requirement.
no. It said the bylaws saying meet as needed. Now you have to meet at least 4 times a year.
Yes.
Every other month sounds fine, but I would probably suggest that we consider quarterly if there's just really
Okay,
not enough.
but we will have a regular meeting next month because you have to approve the budget.
Right.
And then I've got to look at scheduling the annual meeting.
And is it aligned appropriately with council,
Yes.
our budget?
Yeah, so
You'll work with them?
you'll approve your budget and then it'll go to council for approval in August.
Okay.
No, not with this board right now.
Okay. So we really didn't talk about promotional items. Is this really is this something we should talk about in any detail tonight? About promotional items, or you talked a little bit about referred to the flyer or the mailer that we send out. Are there any other promotional items that we should discuss
We can
or calendar?
we
for our
can like
next
look at
meeting?
things and we can bring some items back to you at the next meeting during the budget discussion.
Amy, what's the approximate sales tax revenue in a year now coming to Bartonville? Isn't it in excess of $500,000?
I think that is correct.
So with 500 houses, that's equivalent of $1,000 per house.
I don't have a calculator in front of me.
Well,
and
I'm
this is-
just-
I know, but that's.
But I think we have roughly 500 houses, and I think we bring in $500,000 a year.
Our ad valorem tax is much higher than that.
Of course, no, I'm just talking sales tax. And ad valorem tax will get much higher if we don't get more sales tax revenue to pay for things, right?
I don't know if that's right or
course.
wrong until we
Of
have a
course it
financial
is.
analysis to see what it is.
Yeah,
that-
and that goes back to that analysis discussion.
So,
we
I
had
mean, and
earlier.
we've already, that item's closed. So,
Yeah, that's back to that analysis that needs to be done.
so if you want to go into closed session, because there is another item we do need to talk about.
Yep.
Sure.
Do you need me to post something?
Okay, so we talked about
Just lock
meeting
the door. There's
dates.
somebody out there. It's not gonna- I'm gonna end the meeting.
What's that?